Thanks, Joe. Well, hello, DTNS
Hello.
listeners, viewers. It is this is gonna be a little odd one here. It's the Friday Hangout. I've got Hammond with me, and I've got Roger Chang with me. I, of course, am Amos. I usually am behind the scenes on these things, but I'm here today. And Tom is not, because Tom has some family things he's attending to this weekend. So we are going to try to step up and fill the place of Tom. We're going to fail miserably, but we're going to have a good time doing it.
I mean, you really don't want to just sort of set yourself up for, like you could be the most amazing one ever. You never know.
So, yeah, I learned very early doing theater that no matter what you do, if you end with ta-da, then you win.
So
if you trip and fall on your face and yell ta-da at the end, you're good. So let's just start ta-daing now.
So it is now your job to make sure we ta-da at the end of this.
So if I go and get hauled in front of like a judge for like some sort of misdemeanor I did, like I don't know, I had an open container or something, I had to present my case to the judge. All I have to do is say ta-da.
Once you present your case, then you say ta-da, and you're good. It covers all the bases.
Wow. I was not aware of this, but I can see the utility. Yeah.
Ta-da is the fairy dust of entertainment.
But maybe we should have done some ta-da on some of these tech fields we're going to be talking about today. So the topic today topic today is things that we have purchased or done in tech that either didn't pan out or were complete waste of money or both. So that's if you've got similar stories to that, I'm sure you do. Go ahead and put them in the old chat room, and we will talk about those as well.
So I guess, Amos, since you came with the topic, there must be something either close to the heart or recent.
I'm going to start with one that my biggest disappointment. That is the Canon EOS R, Canon's first mirrorless camera. It was supposed to have lightning fast auto zoom, autofocus. It was supposed to have great dynamic range, and the interface was supposed to be very snappy. It does have great autofocus. It's just not fast. The interface is complete crap. Hated it. The little thumb slider that was supposed to work really well, you could never quite get it to do what you wanted to, and sometimes it would go the opposite direction. And the dynamic range was good, but you had to play with it for a while to get the pictures that you wanted. It was just a pain to use. And then the next iteration was the R6 and R5 that came out about a year and a half later. Massive improvements all around. They are the camera that I thought the R would be. And I have an R5, and it is just amazing. I've never thought about upgrading or replacing it because it's just awesome. Meanwhile, that was $2,300 I spent on that EOS R that I'll never get back.
But you're buying a Canon. That's part of the pricing, right?
Sure, but I got all the pricing. I didn't get the quality. So,
It's, that's one of the things, though, right? It's one thing to buy, like, if I buy, like, some no-name brand Chinese, like, USB adapter for, like, $5 off Amazon and it doesn't work, I'm going to, like, shrug my shoulders, like, yeah, I played a crapshoot, but it was just $5.
Right.
But when you're spending, like, $2,000, it's like, really? Like, it's at least with a car, you might be able to return it back to the dealership, like, if within that window, very narrow window. But I think that's, when I bought that mini PC last year, I had high hopes for it. But what really bummed me out was it was just that when it needed to turn on the fan at high speed, it was just really loud, like super loud. And it needed to kind of wind itself up for a lot of things, especially if I was doing like any sort of video editing or Photoshop. Where you needed a little more GPU muscle, and because the GPU is it's an APU, so the GPU is part of the CPU. You have everything on this die that's getting super hot, and you got to wind up this fan in a little small box at high speed, because you can either do two things. You can make a really big fan that spins slowly so you can't hear anything, but then you have to make a very big box. Or if you want something small, you're going to have to basically present something that is going to be louder.
Yeah, when it comes to fans, CFM is the big thing that you need. And if you got a small fan, they got to spin a lot faster than that. And every time it goes faster, you're getting more noise. Not just like audible noise, but you've got more liability, especially with cheaper equipment to have line noise, and that causes other issues like your monitor glitching out and sound coming through your speakers and stuff. So, yeah,
I actually when I first started interviewing people, one of the things that I discovered was a pet peeve was when people had their microphones or were not using external microphones, and I was getting fan noise in their interviews. I actually had a couple interviews that completely were useless before I knew how to get rid of a lot of noise.
Yeah, that
were terrible because of it sounded like they were sitting next to a jet engine.
Yeah, and if you've ever produced podcasts in any substantial form, like as soon as you sit down for recording, the first thing you're doing is listening to everybody. You just want to know what everyone sounds like. If there's background noise, if there's a buzz, if there's a hum, if their microphone sounds like it's in the basement somewhere, you know, because that's like the easiest thing to change. But it'll ruin your day if you don't. And Roger, you're muted.
Yeah, Roger, you're.
I'm sorry. This kind of reminds me my
Speaking of tech fails, ta-da!
Ta-da! Tech fails. The fail apparently is between keyboard and chair. But like one of the things that production houses often do is before they integrate new equipment, they buy one and they try it out in their system because it's cheaper if you just buy one. But two, you can see all the failings. And you know, when Revision 3 moved away from the old G5. G5 Max to PCs, we were having lots of issues with those G5s just constantly overheating. Like we had the sides off, and we just had like a desk fan we had box fan. We would put the G5s on their side and put a box fan with the side open, and we would just put on top just to blow the hot air out. And we were just like, this isn't working. We need something else. And you know, it's.
Welcome to
this again. This is the thing. Like, if you're a large, not even a medium-sized company, you budget for that kind of thing. But when you're, an individual, it's like, this is the brand new model of its type and its line. $2,500. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it won't. But you get to not beta test it, but maybe
that early mover disadvantage.
Yeah, and then you always see it like. You'll see a bunch of these things suddenly pop up on eBay over the course of the next 3 or 4 months. It's like, wait a minute, this is the one with like the chip that doesn't do yada yada yada, or this has like half the memory what you need. It's not upgradable. There's all these failings, and then then people like me look at it and think like, I'll give you $20.
I know you paid $300 for it. Well, I'll give you 20.
Yeah, listen, because
I'm going to use it in ways it's not supposed to be used.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, if you are if you're doing well in Silicon Valley and you're pulling 6 figures, you're gonna shrug, whatever.
Yeah,
it's like a stick of gum. But for me, it's a great deal. So
it's interesting hearing Amos talk about his camera. I hadn't even thought about this particular piece of equipment until just right now, because it's been years. But in, I want to say 2007 or 8, I was given an Arcos AV700.
Oh, the Archos. Arcos.
Yes.
The one I can never figure out how to and it's a French product.
Yeah, it had Windows in it. It was a DVR. It had this gigantic drive on it. And I'm like, wow, this is it. This is the future. And 2 weeks later, iPad Touch came out, and it was rendered obsolete in less than a year. I mean, it was gathering dust a year later.
But there are times where you buy something because you need something for that particular period of time. Right, and you're willing to chew the cost, right? First time I flew to Australia, I had a little Philips CD player that could play MP3s, and it was like one of the first models. It's like, yeah, even though you can't really, it gave you track numbers, didn't give you like the file names, so you just had to like print out a sheet of all the music you burned on it. But I was like, yeah, you know what, this is the greatest thing. And then like 2 years later, like digital music players were a thing. You had iPods, you had the Dell. I bought a Dell DJ. Remember those?
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, oh, this is so much better. Why did I live through that? Because there were no other options, and that's what you had to live with.
The same thing with mini disc. I bought wholesale into mini disc. I had the head unit in the car. I had the 6-disc changer under the passenger seat. I had multiple in the house of the component units. I had portables. I was all in on a mini disc. And then 3 years later, writable CDs came along, and all of a sudden it was gone.
But sometimes
I love mini disc. Mini disc was great.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're willing to deal with the gamble, right?
Yeah.
Because you want to be the first, and you need that technology.
Yeah.
I remember when our school was like, look, do they want to buy a CD burner? And back then, CD burners were the size of like a stereo receiver, right? They weren't just like the drive. And so and it was like, it wasn't cheap. You were looking at 15,000 American bucks back in like the mid 90s. Mm-hmm. And it's like, man. Like, and I was thinking,
Minidisc was awesome. You could have the digital readout with the song and the track number and the artist, and they were, you could get 80 minutes on some of them, and they were really, really, and they didn't scratch. You could throw them around. They were great for cars. They were great for travel. And if you were like a wedding DJ, like Ibbott was, he bought wholesale into them too. He's one of the few guys who gets my buy-in because I was all over it.
I was living in Japan when that hit big, and Okinawa. It's not really Japan. It's Okinawa. I'm not about to insult a bunch of Okinawans by calling them they're Japanese. The mini disc was hitting big, and I was the only person at work that had one, and I didn't understand why nobody else had it because it was just so phenomenal. They weren't expensive. They were very useful. The battery in my portable mini disc player lasted so long. And it was just a rechargeable battery for the time. That thing was great. I would actually bring in a disc of songs and hand it to one of my buddies at work. He was laid up with a broken leg, so he couldn't go out and work on the flight line and stuff like that. He'd be sitting there, and he would just organize my music for me, and then I'd listen to it later, and it'd be the perfect flow through all the music. He's just one of those guys. But you could do that. You could rearrange the songs on the disc without rewriting the disc, things like that. It was just, the whole system was great, and then it just went away.
Yep. I don't know if that's considered a tech fail, but I guess for me it was more like a tech waste because, I've still got a bunch of discs sitting around the house that every now and then I clean the house. I'm like, I should get rid of these, and I'm like, no, the novelty value is still valuable to me. So
yeah, I mean, there's something to be said about being able to hold on to that. So, I mean, like, I got thousands of DVDs, HDVDs, Blu-rays.
Ooh, HD DVDs! Wow.
I bought into them real quick because when Blu-ray came over, became like the number one product, or the kind of the HD
the de facto
disc standard. Like Tower Records, a bunch of places discounted all their HDVDs for like $5 each. I was like, oh, why not? I have an Xbox 360. I bought the HDVD drive. I might as well, get in on this. And I bought a bunch of them real cheap.
And if anybody out there who has the HD DVD of Brotherhood of the Wolf, I will pay a premium price just to have that because that's one of my favorite films, as you can see behind me. And I would like to have the HD DVD of it.
Doesn't that have the host of the American Iron Chef in it?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And
also the guy I refer to as a French Triple H because the other main lead in that looks like the French Triple H.
I bought the only HD DVD player I ever bought was an HD DVD / Blu-ray player. It was a dual format.
Oh, I remember those.
And I bought one for me and one for my uncle. I mailed it out to him for his birthday. And that was right at the end of HD DVD when I got that. So I only have a few discs that are all packed up, but that format was brilliant. I really enjoyed it. I don't know, like Blu-rays. I didn't see any difference really between HD DVD and Blu-ray.
Qualitatively,
there's no tangible, visible difference for me at the time.
Qualitatively, at the time, there wasn't any. The thing was, Blu-ray had more headroom for growth. Mm-hmm. Like, so as more stuff could, especially with different audio tracks. Like if you wanted your Dolby, if you wanted DTS, if you wanted all the other. That's all this stuff is like old man like audio formats. Like everyone's like on Dolby Atmos and stuff, but like that was the thing. It's like you got multiple different. If you have a surround sound system, this is the BCS.
So at the time, I was trying to discern the difference between Blu-ray and HD DVD on a 720 monitor. So I wouldn't even well equipped myself to know the difference.
So we've talked about like tech things we bought that weren't what we thought they would be or didn't last as long as we hoped they would do. Do we have things where we've tried to go hands-on inside something and blown something up?
Oh, you mean purposely open it up and then screw it up beyond?
Yeah, some actual tech mistake.
You know,
I've got why you guys think I can tell my first story.
All right.
In 1996 or 7, when Riven came out, I owned an Acer, and it had this weird shaped front to it. It was very curvy shape to the front of it, and the DVD drive was built into it, so when it was closed, it actually fit nicely against the smooth curved surface.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Riven came out, I tried to play it, and I was like, nope, your drive doesn't support Riven. So you need to get a new drive. So I saved up my money and bought a new DVD drive or CD drive, whatever it was at the time. And I tried to stick it in there. I'd never opened a computer up in my life. So I pulled the lid off, and I'm looking at all these things. I'm like, oh, I don't even know what to do. So I found a how-to guide online somewhere and started tinkering. And then I realized that because of the specific shape of the front of the computer, it wouldn't work right. It just wouldn't fit. So I ended up getting a Dremel and basically giving the Acer a nose job and cutting a giant hole in the middle of this plastic so that the drive would open and close properly. And then because it was a different shaped drive and because of the way things were built up in there, I actually had to use straws, drinking straws, and cut them down and tape them into place to hold the drive up in place so it fit in the hole. So when it was all said and done, I had a drive that worked. I don't know how, but it worked. And it was held up by drinking straws and a couple pieces of gaff tape.
Sounds like my plumbing work. Yeah, the water flows. That's
your
all
water
that
heater
matters.
right there.
I mean, I've never had that level. I've always tried to tinker with stuff after its usefulness was sort of like, you know.
Oh, I did say ta-da when I was done, though.
Oh, yeah. Did it take a bow or did it just fall over? But I'm trying to think, like, did I royally screw something up?
I've screwed cars up before by trying to install radios and not knowing what I was doing.
Which wire to put in. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it says attach it to a battery wire. Got you. Okay, cool. Next thing you know, the battery will not stay charged because it's constantly draining power to something it wasn't supposed to be hooked up to.
Well, yeah, you have to. Yeah, it's a whole thing.
There's a reason there's professionals.
I mean, it's one of those things with cars where it's like, do I do this or not? Like, because of any kind of tech thing that people fiddle with, a car is kind of like the top 5. Because 1, you don't want to pay a mechanic because it's super expensive. 2, you don't. It sounds like it's not a big issue, right? Like the splash guard underneath. You know, it's that big piece of plastic under the front of your car that prevents when you're driving the rain, the water splashing under the bottom of the engine. Well, I drove over one of those, in a parking lot, the little thing at the end of the parking,
like the one-way stabby thing for the tires.
No,
like a speed bump, like a speed bump.
Yeah, like a speed bump, and it scraped and it pulled off one of the little plastic things that hold the retainers. So I said, well, let me see. I could do this myself. Doesn't look hard. And I found that you could buy these plastic retaining clips like for $100 for like $5. And it came with the handy dandy, tool. So I got that. And then I was like, okay, so how do I do it? Because there's not a lot of space underneath my Camry to work on it. So I was like, well, I don't have like a hydraulic jack, and I only have bottle jacks. I don't want to be underneath a bottle jack while working on it. So I got like a bunch of spare like 2x4s and I stacked it up and I kind of just drove the car on top of them. So it gave me like an extra 6 inches. And I was like trying to figure out, I was like, why is it not fitting? And then I realized I'm putting the plastic retaining clip in the wrong hole. Like there's a bunch of holes in this plastic, and I spent like the next hour and a half trying each one. I was like, oh, this is it. But I will say I felt a lot more accomplished, and I had scraped knuckles and stuff. But I was like, yeah, this is kind of cool. Normally I just do like, I could pop off the tire. It's not a big deal, but like I'm too big to fit under my car.
Yeah. So we have someone saying that they've been afraid to make changes in BIOS. Because they're afraid of breaking their computer. I got to tell you, Anytime I've ever done anything with the computer, I just pound through that as fast as possible for the basic settings because I don't know what I'm doing, and I live in that same fear.
It's a lot harder to do nowadays than it was because most BIOSes have a backup hard BIOS where you can just flip a little switch and it'll basically overwrite your BIOS with the static BIOS, and then you can unclip the switch and then you start up and it's default setting BIOS. But yeah, back in the day, like you'd actually have to remove the chip and swap it out. Those are fun.
I used to fiddle with the BIOS because I would always like for example, I needed to enable the BIOS in my old Gigabyte motherboard to enable the XMP, which is the expanded memory profiles, because at the time, if you went with stock, you would only, I think it was maxed out at 1800 megahertz. So if you open up the expanded memory profile, it would do 2400. So, noticeable clip in speed. And I was like, well, where do I turn it on? And one of the things, having tinkered with PCs for like 20 plus years, I thought it'd be really convoluted. It wasn't. It was a little just thing. Enable, yes, click, and then save, and then reboot, and it was done. It was great. I was like really pleased that they've made it a lot more user friendly and a lot less, you touch something and it all breaks.
Yeah, I decided, let's see, back in 2010, 2011, I moved over to using Apple products, and I realized that I like the just turn it on and go with Apple's stuff. That way I don't feel the need to tinker as much. However, with the setup I have now, I'm pretty sure that a couple of the hopes and prayers that I have running on my desk right now, if they run out, things will go sideways on me.
So in chat, I forget who it was. They were talking about, I think it was W. Scottus One actually. He bought a 2018 Mac Mini, which was the last Intel Mac Mini. And then right after that, they came out with the M1s, and the M1s are like 4 times faster and just perform way better than the 2018s do. Yeah, I can see that being a oopsie.
Okay, so that was one of the things I tried to do. I tried to open this MacBook Pro, and I, for the life of me, couldn't wedge it open because you have to literally pry it apart because I wanted to vacuum it. One of the things that made the Intel MacBook Pros a lot slower in the later model years was that they were insistent on making them very slim, right? So slim, the amount of thermal headroom that the processor had got shorter and shorter and shorter.
It was basically trying to throttle as soon as you booted it up without running anything. Like it was,
and it was ridiculous.
The thermal envelope was very small.
And I was like, oh, maybe I just need to put new thermal paste. I could just pry it off, but like. For life of me, it's like, you know what? Not worth it. All I really need to do is just to update the RSS file with this because that's the only reason I use it. Don't want to screw it up because it's very important I be able to do that. So I got a Dell Precision instead, a Dell Precision 7530. That thing is a dream because it's designed to be open. So it's all screws and everything. You look at it, it looks very Byzantine when you take the bottom off, but it's not too bad. Although, if you want to put like 64 gigs of RAM in it, you have to take the keyboard off, which means you have to entail like taking 20 other screws off and then flipping it over. And well, I mean, it's all designed to do that, but it's like, nah, I'm fine with 32.
Back in the day when adding RAM would actually lower your battery life because you could go from 16 to 32 gigs or 64 gigs, but you'd lose about 20% of your battery life just because it had to run the RAM now. It's like, those old Dells are atrocious like that.
I mean, yeah, it's I got it cheap because it was a refurb unit, so I'm not gonna, it's like $300. But it works, it works.
I still have a Dell laptop as my Windows XP computer. It still runs. I don't want to connect to the internet, but it'll work just fine updating my little OBD2 port thing.
Oh, OBD2 sensors. I got one. I have it somewhere around here, but I was going to do a live with it with Sarah on one. Why every motorist who drives like an internal combustion engine car should have an OBD2 scanner because it's very helpful to figure out what's wrong with your car before you take it to a shop and they like charge you for a bunch of things that you don't really.
And they're pretty cost effective at this point. We bought one. So we were helping this friend of ours buy a used car, And so we would go and try out used cars and drive it. Or as we were on our drive, we pull over off to the side, plug it in, give the car a scan with the Bluetooth and the whole thing on the phone, and figure out if everything was kosher or not. And I got to tell you, it saved us a lot of headaches and got us a pretty decent car. So highly recommend that. That's not a mistake at all. Yeah. That is a get on the stick if you need one and have it, because it's amazing.
Yeah.
The problem with OBD2 port adapters, a lot of cars, if you want to access certain settings, you have to have a certain adapter, like one made for that car. Like my truck, there's certain options in my truck that you can get to if you have one particular adapter software, whatever, but an average adapter won't get to those. However, if you buy one from, like if I were to buy the one from my truck to get to those secret menu items, I could still use that adapter to get the general information from any other car.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, there's different tiers of OBD. You have your generic OBD2, which will give you all the emissions, all the generic engine problem codes. But if you want model specific, say like, hey, I need to turn off the, change your oil light, you need the manufacturer specific codes, and they charge you through the nose. If you get like a professional, OBD, like a scan unit, you're looking at like $1,200, $3,000 because
Toyota used to charge $1,500 just for their software. So if you wanted to buy the software to have at home, it was like $1,500. That stuff that'll get you. But you can get an OBD2 port adapter for like $30 with Bluetooth and everything else on it. Yeah. Or you can spend
I will say I avoid
the
Bluetooth ones because at least because I run on Android and I don't like the Android app that most of them use, which is what is it, something tune? I don't know. It's just a very clunky. I buy like a really cheap one that has its own display, and I just go, and it's great if you ever want to know what's wrong with your emissions. Like if you get, because if you have a check engine light, you can't clear emissions, at least in California.
Yep. And same in Utah too. Utah's the same way.
So you kind of look at it and it's like, okay, what exactly is wrong? If it's like the evap, sometimes it doesn't matter, right? Like you can run the test without it, it'll still pass. But if it's something like, if you do any work on your car and you have to you have to unplug the battery for anything longer than like 10 minutes, people don't realize your car's computer resets, and that includes your emissions. So you need to drive like for a full couple of days, and not just like drive on the freeway. You have to do all the range of conditions. You have to do city driving, you have to do suburban driving, you have to do the number of stops, you have to accelerate hard. In some cases, you got to turn on the defroster the rear shoe defroster, because it has to fill all the check boxes for all the range of conditions. And I had to do that earlier, like 3 months ago, and it was a pain in the ass.
In Japan, they have what they call the JCI, the Japanese Compulsory Insurance. And I think it's every 2 years you have to take, every car that's on the road has to go in for an inspection every 2 years. And they check all the safety stuff. So they check your brakes, they'll check your emissions, they'll check your, to make sure there's no damage like that has been noticed on it, like you haven't, popped out an airbag or something like that. They do all those checks on it. But that emissions check, man, every 2 years you have to go and get that done. And it's like $200. It's not cheap.
$200. Wow.
Yeah. And it's mandatory. If you don't have your little sticker, they'll just take your car. Like, I don't even know where they take it. Your car belongs to.
Well, Japan is a great source for secondhand left-hand or right-hand drive cars.
Yep.
Well, yeah. Well, in Okinawa, we got all the mainland's totaled cars. So they'd get flooded out or whatever, and they'd refurbish them and send them to Okinawa and sell them to all of those GIs down there because
they're like super cheap.
Yeah.
And also, you didn't have to worry about shipping them home. Also, you didn't have to worry about shipping them home. You could just leave them there and resell them on base or whatever.
Yep.
Same thing in Germany. There's tons. I mean, when we were in Germany, there were tons and tons of like BMWs and Mercedes running around on Rhein Air Force Base. And it was because these cars had been on base for the last 10 years, and you just kept buying and reselling them on base, and and people get transferred home, and you wouldn't want to ship the car home because that's just not practical.
Well, you'd have to modify it to be up to standards unless it was a certain age, at least 25 years old or whatever. Mm-hmm. And if it's 25 years old and you bring it over here, good luck getting parts for it. So it's kind of like, the only people that would do that are the people that go over there and buy a Skyline or whatever a GTR, and then they'd get it modified for American roads and bring it over here so they could have an authentic one. But those people spend too much money.
Speaking
Those
of
people
cars,
have more
though,
money than sense.
yeah. And speaking of cars, though, we've gotten to a point now where I actually take pride in updating the firmware on our cars.
Oh my gosh, I can't tell you how many times I get in my truck and turn it on, and the little message at the bottom of the display is like, updating firmware, such and blah blah. I'm like, this is don't even update it anymore. Just flash it on, because like it's constant. It just like at least once a week that happens, and I'm like, this is stupid. You're not adding features, so what are you breaking in the background? Because
they actually might be updating maps, which I think is what. When Hyundai, we both own Hyundais, I think that's what they're doing, is they're actually updating the maps.
I don't think I've ever used the nav in my last two vehicles because I have CarPlay.
Yeah.
I use my phone. It's so much easier.
Yeah.
We have the heads-up display in the Hyundais, and it doesn't translate over from CarPlay, so you have to use the built-in for it to see if you're using the heads-up display. And there are times where if I'm going somewhere where I've never been before, and it's something I'm not comfortable driving, I'll use that. But if it's something where I'm like, I know the general idea of where I'm at, I'm just gonna put it in my phone, and when I get close, I'll hit the button.
The only time I did a firmware update on my truck was because the entertainment system just would randomly just go out, like it would reset itself. You'd be listening to music, and suddenly it would just like reboot, like where you're driving. I said, what the hell? And so I did the firmware update, and then that was it. They have more updates, but it's like, you know what? It's working. It works the way I want it to work. I'm not going to monkey with it, because the last thing I want to do is screw it up.
Yep. One other thing I was going to bring up is the Homie Pro. It's this fancy little box. I might be able to bring it over here in camera, in frame here. Yeah, there it is right there. The Homie Pro. It's supposed to basically be a local bridge for all of your smart home devices. So it connects in with the Caseta system, and with Echoes and all that kind of stuff. I can't.
Oh, yeah. So bring it right in front of you. Yep. Yeah. That's good. It looks like a little. Looks like a Roomba, but shrunk.
I was gonna say it looks like a Roomba covered in dust.
Yeah, well,
ironically, it cleans your floors, but not itself.
Yeah, exactly. So it's supposed to combine, all my smart home things, the Hue lights and the Caseta light switches and all that kind of stuff. And it does a decent job at most of it. But the two things that I really, really bought it for and really, really needed are the Apple HomeKit integration, which it's still in beta, and it does. I've never gotten it to work at all, and the integration with the Echoes in the house. It'll work sometimes one direction, but not both directions, and that is really annoying.
So it just plays that band all the time?
Yeah, just the one band.
The One Direction.
One Direction. Yep. It's nice in so much as if I'm home just from my phone, I can do everything. Just from the app, I can do everything locally. There doesn't need to be internet connection, even on items that do require internet connection. Typically, because it's linked through here, it's fine. But the inability to use HomeKit and integrate that with the ecosystem that I already had, and the fact that it doesn't work with the Echoes, it's just it's annoying. It's $400. It barely does the things that I needed to do. Because a lot of what I wanted to do with it was build routines. You can go in there and they've got a really great interface for building routines. At this time, when this happens, and there's motion here, you want this light to come on, or blah, 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 blah. And if you can't integrate that with everything that you're using, then it's like separate islands. Well, I can do this, but I can't do all of this because this system isn't properly integrated or whatever. Yeah.
One of the things I learned with a lot of smart home technologies is this is great. But it seems overly complicated for just flipping on the light on the porch, right? And so what I ended up doing was, how do I make this stupid simple, right? It doesn't involve any sort of network. It doesn't involve any kind of intelligence beyond just electricity be flowing through. And so I just got photosensitive light bulbs. They're called dawn to dusk light bulbs, LED light bulbs, and they have a photo sensor on it. And when the sun hits it, it turns itself off. And when the sun goes down, it turns itself on. And so all I do is just leave the lights on, and it takes care of itself. And it does exactly what I need to do. When it's dark out, it's on. When it's bright out, it's off. And so, there's things like that. It's like a smoke alarm. I don't need a connected smoke alarm to alert my phone to say that, it's smelling smoke, other than maybe like I call my wife and wake up. There's a fire in the house or something. But like sometimes I think there's a little too much cleverness in trying to get some of these things to work, when it's just like people just want something that works, but 2 is reliable enough.
Yep.
Right. Like if you have one of those timed sensors, like the old style, like for your lawn sprinklers, the old styles are best because they're mechanical, right? So other than the fact that the timing might be off if the power shuts down, you don't have to go reprogram, and there are no firmware updates.
Or swap out your batteries every 6 months or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And people still use the old style pull timers for that reason, right? The mechanical ones, the T30 or 1200s or whatever.
I tell you what, the routine that I run most often in my house, I've got 2 of them. One is I'm going to bed, which turns the ceiling fan on, the light off, and the little cove lights off. That's pretty basic. That's one that I use pretty much every day. And then the other one is I have an automation set up so that I have two lights that hang down over the island in my kitchen. And I have it set so that it turns them on to 30% brightness when the sun goes down and turns them off when the sun comes up. So at dusk, they're basically, dusk to dawn lights, but they only put it at 30%. However, I have that ability to, at any time, say, hey, set island to full or set island to bright or whatever else, and it'll immediately pop up to full brightness. But those 2 lights at 30% make it to where you can come downstairs in the middle of the night and not turn on any lights and still be able to see enough to get around, and then go back upstairs. And it works perfectly.
I bought like 6 LED night lights for like $9, and I just plug them in when the lights are off. It's bright enough at night for I can see and get around without having to turn the lights on. Turn on the lights, they turn off. And they use so little electricity. Like, I don't mind it.
We just in the last year got a thermostat to control our air conditioner that is connected. Everything else in the house, for the most part, is switches and timers. And we have our outside lights on our driveway. They have a photo sensor built into them. When the sun's up, they're off, and when it's dark, they're on. And it's just, and we don't. I don't know. I haven't gotten to a point yet where connected, and even our Ring doorbell, we have one. And I think I've yelled at kids once, but other than that, oh no, I watched a neighbor cut their dog loose and let him take a dump in our yard. But other than that, I don't. It's just.
So sometimes, like, I have security cameras, like I have Wise, and I only keep them outside because I know their whole data retention issue. But it's like if they see the outside of my house, so what?
Yeah.
There have been times where I've seen people nick stuff off my porch, right? Like they took like a big Amazon delivery, and I'm thinking like, well, what can I do? Like, I don't know that person. Like, I'm not going to go hunt them down or put their face like there are limitations to what I can do with that information. Even if I remember one time my friend said like they got into a wreck, but they had a dash cam, and it's like, well, I got the driver's or the license plate. And he said, like, I got the license plate of the car that hit me. And he went to the police, like, yeah, I can't really do anything. It's like, what do you mean you can't do anything? You follow me around and give me a parking ticket that I don't, that I had, for something, but you can't follow a hit and run person. It's like, there's just everything seems to be on a sliding scale, because a lot of these tools and services that are implemented through a lot of these smart home technologies are dependent on a human on the other end, right? Mm-hmm. Security, dependent on police showing up or some security service showing up. 3, it's like, we'll alert you when there's a package on your door. Great, not at home. How am I going to get it in? Like there's all these other things that are very. It connects the middle part, but you need something to finish up at the end, which is either a person or a robot. And this is what I wanted with the Astro. And okay, so that's a tech fail. I played around with the Astro, which was Amazon's little kind of K9 or K3 or whatever from Doctor Who. It was a little robot dog. Kind of looks like that. And I thought, what a questionable product this is, right? Because like think about it. It's like, well, like you could tell if you left your stove on. Great. Now you're at the airport, you're going to drive back and like, like why don't you put a freaking arm on it so it could, turn knobs and press buttons? You need that last bit. Like knowing just increases your anxiety. I mean, like you're just like, you just got to deal with like, I'm on a plane 40,000 feet up in the air. I didn't turn off the gas in my kitchen.
So, we happen to live directly next door to my in-laws, and then my brother and sister-in-law live like less than a mile away. So those kind of things where we've actually had to say, hey, can you check the house? And I mean, we've had it pay off a couple times, but you're right. The technology is there to tell you something, but it's never there to repair something.
Exactly. And what bugs me is like, why don't you have a system that like has a vacation mode and it turns off your water, turns off your gas. Like if you have a water heater, puts it in vacation mode or whatever. Yeah.
So did you keep the dog? Where's the dog?
No, so
did you
Tom
put it down?
got it. He used it, but it scared his dog. So he sent it to me and my kids liked it, but they only used it as kind of a rolling tablet. Like, because the face is a tablet. And so that's what they used it for. They liked it that they could talk to it, but at the end of the day, they were just watching like YouTube videos on it. So it's like, for $1,200 or something, that's a lot of money. And so I think the last thing is we sent it to Sarah to try out. But it's heavy. It's, again, it's like, I guess it's cool, but it doesn't fix anything, right? It can't reach up and flip the switch. Like something very simple. Or, I left the refrigerator ajar. Just go up and nudge it close. It can't even do that.
Yeah.
Like all these simple things that if maybe you had like almost a sentient dog, like it could figure out, like it would do it for you.
Or at least a rubber bumper on the front of it so you could bump the refrigerator and close it. Or, something.
You're talking about outdoor lights, and I have my outdoor lights on my porch set up so that if there is a KP index, which is the Aurora Borealis index, if it's 4 or more, the lights on the front porch won't turn on, because I don't want to add more light pollution to the neighborhood if we're going to have lights out that night.
But if I'm at home, I'll just flip, right?
No,
unless I'm on vacation. But why would I be on vacation from those?
Roger, you're thinking like an old man, using switches and touching stuff.
At some point, you have to touch something. You're touching the screen. You're touching the keyboard.
Not if you have it automated. Don't have to touch anything at all.
So let me ask you: when your internet goes out, does it still?
Well.
That's what I'm afraid of, is someone hacking my coffee maker and making it make tea.
Here's the thing. If my Homey Pro is working properly, it wouldn't need the internet to do that. It would have it all organized internally. So it would update the database on KP indexes and update the forecast, and it would handle it all internally. I can't get that to work with it, but I can get it to work through other means. So I have, it's annoying, but yeah. So close. It's so far away.
It's but that's the curse of technology, right? I mean, there was a time where smartphones I always felt were a little unreliable just for taking calls. Like I wanted something simpler, which I got a BlackBerry, I had a BlackBerry Storm, and it like didn't matter. Like it would always take and receive calls. Like I had a Nexus, like one of the 3rd generation Google. Was it Nexus? Was that it? Maybe, but like the first Google branded phone or the second Google branded phones, and sometimes it was a little wonky taking calls. But
who takes calls on their phone now? Really,
me, the old man.
I actually have a friend, a guy I interviewed. He's a musician, and he actually has still an old flip phone. And he says the reason he does it is because smartphones actually take up brain space, and he says that creativity is bred out of boredom. And so he has a dumb phone so that he has time to let his mind wander and be bored.
I mean, I think boredom is a very underrated state to be in.
Yep.
You know what boredom implies, right? That everything's taken care of.
Yeah.
Like if you're bored, you're not worrying about something because it's taken care of, or it's no longer a problem. People think like you need to be constantly active. It's like, oh, if I'm not at the gym, I should be sleeping. It's like, no, just sit on your ass and watch TV. Sometimes that's what you need.
Yeah.
Well, people have different ways to turn their brain off. My brain, when I'm sitting and watching TV, I can never calm down unless the TV show is very engaging. So I'll typically, like when my wife wants to watch a show that we're watching, I will watch one episode and be fine. Anything after that, my brain starts going off on these tangents of things that could be happening. But if I sit down in front of a Factorio, I'll make an afternoon, or like it used to be Civilization, Civ 5, Civ 6. If I sit down in certain video games, my brain would, like, all the other things going on in the world, just they flitter away. And the only thing I'm worried about is how many green, my circuit ratio for green circuits to red circuits, and I need plastic, like I only care about the game, and it fills all the little nooks and crannies in my brain of all those extra thoughts. It fills all those.
But it gives you little micro doses of dopamine hits because you accomplish one task. And this is the brilliant thing about video games is if you live in a world where things are very unpredictable and oftentimes maybe out of your control, video games give you that semblance of, well, I get to set the rules. I get to set the boundaries of what can and cannot be done. And so there's sort of a cathartic aspect to this. It's funny because I do this now, and I wrote about this in my little therapy column post this week, but ChatGPT has allowed me to do that, which is writing fiction. Because I can start writing these things, and I've always said this, I write terrible dialogue. Like I can explain the scenario or the scene, but I cannot. One of the things I have is not making sure everyone sounds different. ChatGPT does a better job, but it's easier to tweak something than to start from scratch and kind of pull it out of your head. So,
well,
go ahead.
Kent and I are writing our book together, and that's what we're doing. We're describe. We can describe and understand each other on how things are supposed to look and what environment it's supposed to be in and how the story's supposed to flow. But then to actually write that down and express that in a way that, two lifelong friends would understand, wouldn't, you know what I mean? Like he and I, we have a special language that we speak. Like we can just get each other's meaning from the tonation that we're using and things like that. But to put that on a page where someone can objectively read it and understand this is the environment that they're describing, we don't have that skill set, but we can use ChatGPT to do it. And then we sit there and tweak the ChatGPT settings like 45 times till it actually says, no, this is what we wanted right here.
One of the things I've been toying with is basically having each LLM be a different person. And so I would get a different voice out of it, like when I do the dialogue.
Yeah.
Because that's what you want. One of the things that, if you ever take like a creative writing course, is really difficult is giving a unique voice to each person, right? You don't want your Sherlock Holmes to sound like Watson, to sound like, one of the characters in the story. You want them all to be unique. And oftentimes people immediately just sort of fall into like cliched, like, oh, he's a French person. They're going to do like talk in a certain way, or they're going to talk about like baguettes or like cheeses or like romance, or you know what I mean, like all these very stereotypical things that are that don't add any depth, but you do it because that's how you think that's their character, right? Oh yeah, you're in the army, so you're going to be this way, or there's a level of layer texture to character development that some writers are gifted with, and other people like me are just like, I don't know.
So no, I mean, Ken and I have found that the dialogue is the only thing we don't need help with. Like we can carry on a conversation in our writing pretty easily. It's all the stuff that goes around the conversation and to describe the area where the conversation's happening. All that stuff is just like we can visualize it. We can't verbalize it.
So Nick with a C actually brought up. I thought this is funny. He's like my reference about using each LLM as a different person to give them different voices. He said Chad, Brad, and Claude, right? So because you have Chad for ChatGPT, Brad for I assume is Gemini, and then Claude for Claude. Yeah. CBC. Oh, that's the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation or company or whatever the C stands for in Canada.
CMC, the foundation of the entire 49ers season this year. Ham, what were we going to say? You're going to cut in there with something.
Oh, I was going to say that it's funny you guys are talking about dialogue and things like that, but as far as when I was in bands and we were doing a lot of music and doing original compositions, the chord structures and putting unique chords next to each other was something I was very strong at. But the melodic, the musical sentence, the melody line, always is something that I've struggled with. And every time I talk to somebody who's a good melody writer, I'm just in awe of them because the melodic line is witchcraft to me.
Yeah, there are certain aspects of music. So writing, I can take a situation and write lyrics to a song. Like that's something that I can do. They're not great, believe me. But I can write the lyrics so I can convey a message in the voice of the song. But then, like I said before on the Daily Music Headlines live streams, I cannot speak guitar solo. Mm-hmm. But I understand guitar solo. It is a special language to me that I understand. You can play guitar solo and I can be like, I can capture meaning from that even without the context of the song. For the great guitarists anyway, not for the jack down the street. But yeah, it's one of those things where even with music, with books, whatever creative exercises there are, you can take an aspect that you are really good at and kind of level into that. But then people that can do the things you can't, especially when you're competent and confident in what you can do, then you find someone else that can do the things you can't. It always seems like magicry.
Yeah,
it always seems.
Yeah, I really there's a couple people who I know who are phenomenal with melody, and I think they're just going home and giving up their souls and going to the crossroads and chatting with Baphomet on the weekends because there's no way that you can just be that natural at it. It's without some sort of wizardry.
It's kind of a shame that melodies, at least in pop music, have taken sort of a backseat to sort of like having a very recognizable harmony because that's what everyone dances to. Mm-hmm. But
I really love breakdowns of 80s music where they like Peter Gabriel. Listen, go watch any breakdown of one of his songs, and there are elements there that you don't expect.
Yep.
That you don't find in other places. Or
there's a guy doing reels, breaking down Owner of a Lonely Heart, and he's done like a whole series of like a crap ton of reels just about Owner of a Lonely Heart.
Well, and I mean, Yes is one of those bands that seems very like superficially. You think when you hear it, it's like, oh, I know what this music's about or whatever, but it's so layered. And this is the thing, like any good piece of art. It's layered upon layers upon layers of imagery and work, right? Mm-hmm. It's not like you just kind of sit down at a piano and like just sort of like quickly sketch out like your tonality, your harmonies, your melodies, and all that. You build one layer, you think about it, and then you say, what else would go on top of it? It's like cooking, right? You don't just well, sometimes you do. You throw everything, do a giant pot, see what happens. But sometimes it's like, hey, this is really salty. Maybe I should add a starch to even it out, and that'll add some texture. And I want to choose what kind of texture. Do I want to use a potato? Do I want to use rice pasta? You go through like a category of things, and you're thinking deliberately about the product that you want at the end. And that's why things like a generative AI, I still think lacks that soul, right? It makes stuff that looks nice, but it's very surface level.
Yeah.
You're not getting the scream, you're not getting Starry Night, you're not getting, you're not even getting like impressionism or Dadaism in that way. You're just getting like, this is what I've learned, this is what it should look like. Here you go.
Yeah. Yep. And it's really interesting too. I mean, kind of wrapping back into tech fails. Speaking of,
is that what we were talking about?
Speaking about fails, talking about how you add starches. A friend of mine said she was going to bring pasta salad to a dinner party, and it ended up being a quinoa based salad instead. And we were all very upset because she told us it was going to be pasta salad, but it was quinoa, and she just switched the starches on us, and we were all, that was a fail in our book.
But did you eat it?
No, and also she did say to ta-da, so we had to forgive her.
I've never been one to really dive into something I don't think I'm good at, but here lately, this last summer at least, I've been really diving into cooking. So pretty much every other week I find a recipe and try it and see what I can do, how I can make it better or whatever. But the first thing you do is you make the recipe, and then you decide, okay, well, I could use more of this or more of that, right? So that's something I'm actively trying to get better at. But man, I got to tell you, I do not know the difference in the flavor profile of a caramelized onion versus garlic after you put it through an emulsion blender in some tomato soup. Like, I could not tell you. The tomato soup was amazing, but I don't like what goes into that is such a mystery to me. And it as much as I love food, and those who've met me in person know I love food. I really wish I knew the nuances of the different flavors. Like I added, the recipe called for a bunch of basil in this tomato soup I made last night. More basil than I've probably ever seen in my life. I didn't taste any of it in the full thing. In the final product, I didn't taste it, which means I don't know what I'm tasting, which is sad.
But I think for that kind of skill, you have to put lots and lots of time into training your taste buds to pull out different things. It's like, I mean, when we've both played in bands, we both play music, and we've trained our ears to pull apart pieces of music. So you can separate out certain aspects and go, oh yeah, that makes sense why they added that there. This is why that reverb's there. Oh, they did something different with this voice here, whatever. I think it's the same thing when it comes to discerning flavor profiles in wines or foods or whatever.
Right.
I mean, I don't drink, but anytime someone says their wine tastes woody and full bodied, I don't know what that means. It just sounds like they're making up words. That's just them trying to sound hoity-toity.
Yeah.
But when it comes,
I used to not know the difference between different steaks until I actually put some effort into learning it, and I was like, oh my god, no, there's a huge, a well done sirloin and a medium rare New York strip look about the same on the plate, have nothing to do with each other as far as flavor at all.
Yeah.
Completely different flavor, different texture, different mouthfeel. One of them is good. The other one is not worthy of my dog. So
yeah, it's funny. Zoe just said that wine experts do make up words. So I thank you, Zoe, because
yeah. I think they make up words on the bottle too. Like you look at the bottle and like these words, those syllables should not match together in that pattern. Because what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So anybody got a last minute tech fail? Something that they've invested money into that didn't work out the way they wanted it to, or they bought it and realized it didn't do the thing they thought it needed to do, or that you were just tinkering and it completely went sideways. A great place to let us know if you're not in the chat right now and you want to pop it out there would be feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com.
Yeah, and this has been fun. I mean, the three behind the scenes people ran this show.
Yeah, well, four really, because you even got Joe back there too.
Yeah, so we're all
the producers,
all the not ready for primetime players right up front and playing
all
prime time.
All the faces for radio were on here. Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that's going to be about it. Oh, wait. Going behind the scene here. Yep. This is a little message from Joe reminding me that we're coming up on an hour, which is perfect because that's exactly what I was realizing. And being behind the behind the camera kind of person I am, I just went ahead and read the private message that probably didn't need read.
Well, I read it too, and I was like, oh, okay, we should be all right. That's why I was like, yeah, we probably should start wrapping up.
It's all good. All right. I think you're supposed to be playing some music right now. Let's see here.
Ta-da!
I'm just going to hit this and call it a day. We will see you all next. Well, you'll hear our products next week. You'll see our faces eventually, maybe next Friday. And we hope all of you enjoy the weekend that you have before you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with us. Bye-bye.
Bye.